our city. Some of us have businesses, some of us have had businesses. So most of us realize that a business that is not moving forward is most likely going to move backward. The same thing is with a city. If a city does not advance, it will go backward. It will go back to what it was, and that I do not want to happen to this fair city. There has been talk about the purchase of some Saws property. I, for one, am more than ready for our city to purchase this property to be used whenever it's needed. If we can get it now at a lesser rate than when it goes on the public market, that's a bonus. If we don't use it tomorrow, that's fine. You know, we all have a savings account, or we should. We save things for the future. That's what a city needs to do. We need to save things for the future, for whatever we're going to need. Some of us have mentioned that we don't need any more property, that we have 30 acres at the park. Well, we don't want to turn our park into a municipal complex. That is not what it was designed for. That is not what we need it for. We don't want to have to go down there and, oh my gosh, there's the marshal's office. Don't park here. You can't park there. There's no parking. So, you know, what are families to do? Do we drive across the grounds and avoid the grounds? I should hope not. And then others have stated that if we were to get a dog pound, it should be located in the park. Well, I don't have small children anymore, but if I did, I would not take them to a park with a dog pound in the enclosure. That's not very smart at all. I don't know of any dog pound or animal shelter that has not had an escapee at least once. We don't need a mean pit bull or Rottweiler or German Shepherd or Chihuahua running loose in our park, biting our children. It's just not a good thing. So therefore, I want to say straight off the bat, if our city decides to purchase additional property at the right price, I'm all for it. And that's it.
Next up is Charles Fillinger.
Hello, my name is Charles Fillinger. I live on Opportunity Drive. I've been here for 6 years. I want to address several items, try to do it quickly, and I have brochures and handouts if you'd like to talk about them anymore. First thing I'd like to say is thank you for the attachments to the agenda, because it really helps to have the documents. Prior to attaching ordinances, we were blind until the ordinance was moved. So you say, this time's for public comments, but we have no idea what we're going to address tonight. I think that's great, and I thank you very much for that. I'd like to see additional information given to the public. Our financial report, right now, if we want a detailed report, we have to do an FYI, or Freedom of Information, with Ms. Ray, and it takes a while to do that.
No, sir, that's not true. All
Okay.
the monthly reports are on the website. They have been for some time.
Thank you very much. I have missed that entirely. Where are they?
Under finance.
Okay, thank you. I've never seen anything but budgets under there. Also like to see proposed minutes. As I read the minutes, and a lot of times I'm not able to come here due to work and other things. I'd like to also see the proposed minutes, because as I review them, I find inaccuracies and factual errors. I would just like to see them also, so that we can say, wait a minute, you discussed an item, you had it properly moved and it was seconded, but in several cases, no result of a vote is recorded in the minutes. I know you move fast up here trying to get your business done, but it's like they're not actually reviewed. If I can see that there's a factual misstatement, such as in our offices, place 2 was erroneously listed as Ms. Matajuela, and place 4 was Mr. Thomasine. And like I say, there's several cases where an item is moved, it's seconded, no vote is recorded. Okay? There's an ugly undercurrent about the budget amendment. I'm really surprised that most people are not here. I have a question. We're going to hire 2 part-time public works employees, but I see nothing in the budget for a vehicle, for fuel, for equipment, or tools. I'm just...
That was all addressed at the public hearing. It was taken into consideration. And sir, you're over your 3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Kathleen Recio.
I think I'm loud enough, I can speak from here. I read the agenda and the documents attached. I have a lot of problems with what I read. First, why are you changing an existing budget? I was present when the budget was agreed upon. How did the spending balloon from $600,000 and change from $580,000? The difference of $19,695. We gave up essentials in that budget to balance it, and all of a sudden, voila, we have $19,695.27. The Sauls property has been on the mayor's wish list for lists for months. The people in the city already told you they don't want it. What part of no don't you understand? I knew it was a mistake when you gave yourself the authority to buy land of holding a vote by the people. We're a minimalistic city with minimal needs. After 2 years, none of those minimal needs have been met. In the August meeting, your documents of the budget told us the carryover funds were approximately $175,000, a nice round number. Now this document, called the amended budget, says the carryover balance is $213,372. I'm going to skip through some of this. There's copies on the table. I'm also very curious about where the $19,000 was hiding. Being that you can't talk to us during a meeting, I want to request that you put on the next month's agenda and explain how the money miraculously appeared and the source. Where is the budget that's supposed to be on file with the state comptroller? I believe it was due in March. I would also like to see it, since I can't help but think you are deceptively hiding funds from the citizens of this city. Why do we need a full-time marshal and 2 part-time? I'm not even touching this because I believe Mr. Fillinger already did. Why are you making ordinances become volunteer animal control officers? Aren't you busy enough? Shouldn't you be doing the jobs that you were hired to do? I mean, David just had surgery, you have a bad hip or knee, and maybe you're too busy. So I don't understand how you could be assuming money from the citizens of this city and not hiring animal control, which, by the way, was 2 years now, we still don't have. Going on, and then it goes on about the marshal, which I believe you touched on. Is your justification for so many marshals? The ordinance says kids can't fly planes and model cars, and our park is going to be a drinking park. So many city, state, and county parks say do not allow alcohol.
That is a draft, and that means it's going to be discussed. It's
Okay,
just a
well,
draft for discussion.
I don't think alcohol should be in our park. I think you said it. It's for children, not for adults. Otherwise, you're going to have minors and kids sneaking beer and running out the Valero and drinking in the park. There's a lot more stuff in here, but I'm just going to kind of conclude. New running candidates are actively working for the good of our city. I am confident they will be elected. I have spoken to over 700 face-to-face, some of them here, 240 registered voters, and 460 who have become registered, hopefully with the delivery of voter registration cards by yours truly, and hopefully adding to the last count of 1,589 already registered voters. We the people stand together in larger masses than the mayor's handful of bullies and troublemakers. The city will be great, and none of the credit will be given to any of you for anything positive to date. All I have seen is talk and no action and a lot of spending. So I conclude saying to the mayor, stick to your day job. Politics is not working for you. Peace.
I'd like to say
I
something.
disagree with everything she just said.
Well, I'd like to say something. Yes, I have a bad hip, Ms.
So how are you
Riggio.
picking up dogs and tigers and everything else?
Well, you know what? I work 30 to 40 hours a week for the city.
Excuse me.
So do I.
Excuse me.
So do I.
Excuse me. You don't even know what the agenda is going to discuss. So you should sit and listen for. You should sit and listen to what the discussion is. Okay? Thank you.
How come you only comment back to me, Mickey, and nobody else in the audience?
Mr. Philip Lamoureux is up next. Thank you.
No, I'm good, she covered everything. I just want to say one thing.
He's military.
BJ, where I come from, we remove our hat to replace it.
Men do, women do not.
Women do too.
Women, bottom line, more women.
I ain't talking.
Hello, stop, please. Hey, excuse me. Not interrupting. You're free to address the council. You're not free to attack them. If you have a comment to make, if you have a comment to make.
Take your buddy right here not to attack me.
She didn't attack you.
She just turned around and started yelling at me. I should have my.
Please. Hey, the officer is speaking to you.
Took her hat off.
Will sit down, please.
In the Army, women took her hat
Sir,
off too.
please sit down.
I'm not in the Army.
With respect, BJ, that's all.
Next up is Mike Miller.
Fine.
Folks, call the council to order, please.
Do you want the microphone, Mr. Miller?
No, that's okay. Basically, what I want to speak about is on August the 25th, the people came together and we had a good meeting and we all gave up stuff and some of us got stuff, some of us didn't. And it was like the pool. Nobody in here agreed to demolish the pool. We said we'd put it on the side to balance the budget. And I'm all for fixing that pool for the children of this community before we demolish it or buy property. And that money can be used for road repair that we're going to need and a lot of different things. Ditches that need to be cleaned, the gutter, not gutters, but the pipes underneath the roads and stuff that need to be cleaned out around here to keep our roads from deteriorating any faster than they are. So I just want to say that I'm definitely against buying that property. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4, financial report. The income and expenses for August and September will be presented by the city clerk, Ms. Charlotte Ray.
The beginning balance for August was $218,163.83. Total checks and payments, $34,189.56. Total deposits, $44,723.96, leaving us with an ending balance, which is the beginning balance for the next one, of $228,698.23. For September, the beginning balance is $228,698.23, and we had deposits of $9,702.38, with checks out as $19,016.17, leaving us with a balance of $219,384.44.
Thank you.
I'll be
Item number 5, consent agenda. First item, discuss and possible action on the minutes of the regular council meeting of August 11th, 2016. The second item, discussion and possible action on the minutes of the special council meeting on September 29th, 2016. Third item, discussion, possible action on the minutes of the public hearing and special council meeting of August 25th, 2016. And fourth item, discussion and possible action on payment to Mr. Alex Ramirez of $280 for security services. If any of these items, if anyone wants to discuss those separately, we'll pull them from the consent agenda. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
We have a motion from Alderman Tremblay to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Alderwoman Gillespie, second. We have any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? I didn't hear a vote from you, Ms. Tingham. You said aye, okay. The motion carries. Item number 6, discussion and possible action to approve ordinance 2016-65 to amend and adjust the approved budget, Exhibit A, for fiscal year 2016-2017 to account for additional carryover balance, appropriate funds for purchase of San Antonio water system property, ADA ramp and pool demolition, decrease budget line items for utilities and septic, the city administrator, election expense, utilities for electric and street maintenance. And during our August 25th meeting, we had an approved budget, which is Exhibit A, and we had estimated carryover funds of $175,000. In reality, when the year was over, the fiscal year was over, we had more funds than that available to move over to the carryover balance. That resulted from a couple of things. One was we didn't have the Saws property as a line item budget in last year's budget. We did not spend that money. We also had $10,000 set aside for the ADA ramp, which has been completed but not yet paid for. So that's where the bulk of the money has come from for the additional carryover balance. The line items that are mentioned in the agenda are for, we talked about the Saws property and the ADA ramp. During the August 25th meeting, we also talked about repairing the pool, and there was a fairly loud consensus that that's not what people wanted to do. It was a very costly item. Excuse me, ma'am, please do not interrupt the meeting.
You pick and choose.
Excuse me, please do not interrupt the meeting. So the pool repair was something that they didn't want to spend. If I'm not mistaken, it was around $58,000 that we had discussed budgeting for that. But we did say that we couldn't leave the pool in its present condition. Something had to be done with it. So I had a quote at that time for $14,500 to demolish the pool. So I rearranged some funds in here. I just don't think it's appropriate that we not address the pool. Something needs to be done with it. It's got water standing in it. We're putting mosquito dunks in it. But we had a lot of rain and it kept raising the level even though we drained it. So that's where the money for the pool demolition is coming from. I decreased the budget line item. We had a line item on here under municipal building for utilities and septic for $16,000. But that would have been for development on the Saws property. So I took that out as something that we probably would not be doing in this current fiscal year. The city administrator, I borrowed a little bit from you, Ken. I think you're probably okay with it. I looked at how we were running on your expense line, and it appears as if I think we're okay with that. The election expense, we decreased that because we actually paid the bill and it was less. So I think it was right around just under $9,400. So I left $95 in there. I did confirm with Jackie's office that there is no other expected expenses to come in from that. So you should be good with decreasing that line item.
I don't have the line items, I don't have a copy.
You don't have exhibits A and B?
No, I don't have anything. No, I don't have
Well, here, you can have mine. Pass those around, please. Thank you. And the remainder of the decrease goes against street maintenance, so I dropped that by $20,000, which still leaves us $70,000, which is still more than we spent this last fiscal year, almost a little less than 50% more than we spent in this last fiscal year, and we had major repairs that needed to be done, so I think we're okay with that as well.
Is there some way we can put on, we decided, I think we decided we weren't going to open the pool this next year.
We're not gonna
We
repair it.
didn't fund any money to
Right.
it. Could we possibly just put it off until next year? We're not going to open it this summer, that's for sure, but we possibly could do something next year, which would be cheaper than the new pool.
Well, one of the things when we were discussing in the public hearing about the pool repairs, one thing that we did not take into account were the sand pumps. We don't know if the two that are out there work, and I did some price checking on them. They run anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 each. So there's probably a lot of unknown that we don't know about the pool repairs in addition to what we already had priced out. But, I mean, it's certainly something that we could consider. It becomes, it's a maintenance hazard.
I
Both
understand.
of the drain lines, major drain lines are blocked. So there's not even a possibility to completely drain the pool. And so when it rains, the water builds up, there's more water. We're back to having buzzards nesting over there again.
Okay, and we are going to fill the maintenance positions this year.
Yes.
So, I mean, that could be a task that they would accomplish on a regular basis, would be to keep the water out of the pool. I think what I'm hearing from the majority of folks is that they want to keep the pool. But we'll definitely need to look at issues that come along with it, such as the maintenance, such as the hours of the park with the pool being having either security or a lifeguard, what our liabilities are, additional insurance to the municipal. We need to look at all of that. I think rather than spending $15,000 to just demolish it, I'd like to see us just put it on the back burner for now and see if we can't come up with something to possibly repair.
Well, it continues to deteriorate on a regular basis. It's a liability sitting there as it is, a huge liability. And as long as that pool is in there, we're stuck with paying $200 a month in a water bill that we're getting nothing for. Because you have to have a 2-inch line for that pool, 2-inch water line, if you got that.
Yeah, I'm sure another pool, a pool would probably be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Probably, I'm sure it would be far more than what, the prices of pools in the last 2 years have just
Oh,
skyrocketed.
yeah.
I agree with you. I've been hearing the same thing.
Well, I just, don't know, what we can do to
And I will comment that I'm the only one sitting at this table that has been down to that pool, standing at the fence peering in, going, oh, that would be nice to have swim lessons. When you published on the internet and opened it up to people other than Sandy Oaks residents, it's very easy to sit there and say that.
I hear you.
But it's a huge liability. Just sitting, even with 6 inches of water in it, it's a huge liability.
I mean, I don't think there's a problem if we take the money that's on the proposed and just move it to the reserves. Or we can leave it on that line and not move forward with the project. true. We could put it in one of the specified reserve funds, you know, to leave it there in case we wanted to use it for that purpose. And then at the end of the next year, if we don't use it, we reallocate it to another fund. Okay.
Or, any thoughts?
Well, how would we, I mean, is there any time limit that we would?
Well, we're surely not going to open it this year, so it was, well, for $15,000, we would fill the dirt. But
Yeah, that's
basically
pretty much it.
what we do.
Well, they have to put holes in the bottom and collapse the sides and fill it with dirt. Otherwise, you end up, it holds a lot of water, it becomes a mud pit.
How long can it sit there before it's just beyond?
It's looking pretty
beyond
bad.
fiction?
It's looking pretty bad.
Did you have someone go look at it a while back?
Yeah. It was, he said that it was going to need pretty much everything.
Yeah. The finish is all cracked.
He
The
said
bottom
longer
is all
you-
cracked.
The longer you let it sit there without water in it, he said it could collapse, actually, because it's in sand.
Right.
What he told me.
It could also float out of the ground.
The other thing, during the public hearing, Jim indicated that that pool is over 20 years old. So I don't know what the life expectancy is of an in-ground pool.
If we do have a pool, we need to find some other means of entertainment or something else to put there to replace it. And I did see a line item in there for equipment, parking. I did see that. Where did I see? Did you have a line item in there for?
I gave her my copies, I don't have them in front of me.
And just it's not just the cost of repairing the pool. In the public hearing, when everyone said they did not want the pool, the public said they did not want the pool. It's the cost of maintaining the pool.
Because you have to have a lifeguard,
And
yeah.
maintenance.
And well, yeah, right. And the other side of that is, you know, in a city that has a population of just under 3,000, there's a very small percentage of those residents who would benefit from the pool, yet we're asking all residents to pay for it. When there were maintenance fees and it was required, you could more equitably allocate that. But now, you know, we're dealing with people's tax money.
And it wouldn't just require a lifeguard. You've got to have somebody that's going to check identification to make sure that the people coming in to use the pool are actually Sandy Oaks residents.
Right.
And someone told me, oh, well, have the lifeguard do it. Well, no, the lifeguard's attention has to be focused on that pool. There's already been one person that I know of that years ago drowned on that pool, and it's only 5 feet deep.
And we also need to, you know, pay for maintenance service to maintain it, and make sure it's safe.
Well, I'd like to mention what I'm hearing about the pool, hearing pretty much the same thing. Citizens are concerned because the homeowners association shows us still, they don't understand why we keep putting money in the pool. They don't see the thing very, the transaction being very clear, since the homeowners association is still a nonprofit and is showing, and you know, is getting exemption, and the homeowners association isn't closed yet. So that's kind of why they keep saying, why do you keep putting money in this area?
Who's putting money in the pool?
Well, why we keep working on the park when they still...
No, you said we're putting money in the pool. I was trying to figure out what money we put into the pool.
I'm just telling you what I'm hearing is every time we put, you know, efforts into the park, and it always comes back to, well, why are you doing that when the homeowner association is still open and we're still members? So,
Yeah, that's all city property now.
okay, well, as members, they didn't get to vote. So, I mean, it's still getting nonprofit status on homeowner association.
Is there a pretty clear title?
Well, they can.
Well, I'm just telling you what I'm hearing. That's why, That's why when we ever talk about park and money, then I'm always hearing these things. That's what I'm hearing.
All of the assets of the WPPOA, the homeowners association, have been signed over legally to the city. I don't know what, Ms. Riccio?
Hey, excuse me, please stop interrupting the meeting.
I'm just telling you what I'm hearing.
I understand what
Okay,
you're
and
doing,
you
Ms.
can,
Tanguma, but the reality is there is documentation. The members of the homeowners association had 15 months to do something, to call a meeting, to do something, to create what they consider a legal property owners association. Nothing was done. And all the city council, and I wasn't on the council at the time, all the city council heard was, do something about the park, do something about the park. So the city did something about the park.
we have to really relay that to the citizens because it's still being heard that way.
It's been explained numerous times.
Well, and I hope as you're encountering people with those concerns that you're able to clear that up for them. Is there any more discussion on this item?
Just one on the ADA ramp. Did we get a final bill? Do we have a final bill on the ADA ramp?
I don't have a final bill. We have, yes, it's passed inspection. We've paid the first bill, or, yeah, you paid the first bill. There was a small change order that came in after that, but I'm challenging that. I may or may not authorize that one for payment, but it came in well under the $10,000.
So we're using that for sheriff municipal still.
I'm sorry?
We're using that for the sheriff's.
The ADA
marshal-
ramp?
Well, the building to where the ADA
Oh,
ramp's going.
the building, yes, that's going to be the marshal's office.
Okay, it's not going to be City Hall anymore.
Well, we'll probably have City Hall set up there, but yes.
Okay, so that's why they're confused while we're buying land because we're going to use that. That's another thing I'm hearing.
What about the TCEQ on the park?
That's another thing I'm hearing.
What else? Okay. So do we have a motion to approve Exhibit B? Do you want to leave the pool demolition on there? Do you want to move it to another line item? What do you want to do? Exhibit A is what we approved in August. Exhibit B is the proposed. I thought Exhibit A was what we approved. Got it, okay. So it is Exhibit A that we're amending.
Yeah, I'll move to approve item 6 as stated on the agenda.
We have a motion from Alderman Tremblay to approve item 6. Do we have a second?
Second.
Alderwoman Gillespie, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
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 That's 2 for and 2 against. I'm going to vote for.
Of course.
Okay, item 7. Discussion and possible action on the purchase of property from San Antonio Water System for municipal use. I know this has been something that everyone has an opinion on. I want to remind everybody that back in March, I think it was March 10th, the City Council voted unanimously to move forward with this. The motion was made by Alderwoman Tanguma to move forward with this. The purpose of it was to have municipal space so that we would not have to occupy the park. So that's what we've been doing. I've been working with and I apologize, Shanna, the name of the firm is very long, but we've been working with them since that time. We have a contract that's ready. We have a title that's ready. All that's required now is to take a vote from the council to move forward with that purchase.
A motion to move forward to do an exploratory and hire somebody to look for property before the park became an option. So that's what on March 10th, that's what I did.
Okay. Well, I will also tell you that one of the reasons for considering this property is, number one, location. Number two, to keep the park as a park. That's what it is. It's a park. It needs to keep as a park. You cannot have emergency vehicles speeding through the park to respond to calls. You cannot have animal control set up in the park to address, vicious animals. It needs to be a park. In addition to that, there are a number of people, and many of them sitting here in the audience, who honestly believe that the WPPOA gave the property illegally to the city. I will ask this: if the city does nothing but maintain that park, is there a problem with that?
If you change it from what we agreed to.
I'm not asking you to respond. I'm not asking you to respond. I'm not asking you to respond. Officer,
Why are you addressing it to us?
Right, she just asked.
excuse me, we are conducting a meeting here.
Who's she asking? Who's she asking? Who's she asking?
Oh,
I did not ask for a response.
we bought a park with a pool, a clubhouse, and a fitness center, and you took that away from us.
Excuse me. Excuse me. How about when, hold on a minute. I'm talking to sir. I'm going to jump over here.
Sir, we already had the public comment section. So
Okay, but you're asking a question.
I did not, it was a rhetorical question. I did not expect
Maybe
an
you
answer.
realize that. Come on. Lighten up a little bit. You're speaking to intelligent people. Come on, lighten up. Ripped up. That's good.
So the plan would be to purchase this property. It's located at the front of Waterwood because the city is more than Waterwood. We have areas along Priest Road. We have areas down Star Oaks. A lot of those people don't even know that there is a park. If I've already had conversations with ESD6 about possibly co-locating with us. Excuse me, ma'am.
I'm using Texas because, you know what, it doesn't help us to listen to you.
Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
ESD6 will not co-locate with us in the park area because of access. It is a residential area. The road out of the park, trying to move to respond to calls. It's not safe for them to move through there. We only are using the park now to have the marshal's office because the marshal's office is important for us to move forward. We have all the ordinances in place. Once the marshal's in place, then we can, institute our animal control. There's a lot of things that we can accomplish for the city that the citizens have been asking for. The plan would then be to take the building that's down there and turn it into a community center, which is the other item that everyone is talking about. We need a community center. Well, it should be in the park, and when we have a place to move the city offices and the municipal offices, that will then become the community center. So that's been the plan all along, and I just find it very interesting that every member here on the council was at that March meeting, and nobody has brought up anything about it until recently, knowing that this is basically unfinished business. So the monies were on the fiscal year that ended in September. We had it set aside. We were going to have a vote on it, but we had to cancel the meeting because we didn't have a quorum. So the monies were still there. They've moved over to this budget. I'm asking to have an appropriation of the funds from what we just approved on the budget to spend on this particular property. And I will tell you, this property is 2.1 acres. It's fenced. It's got outbuildings. It's got got manicured grass. It has dual access from Priest Road and Waterwood Pass. It's ideal for what we need from a municipal standpoint. The other part of that is, and I will defer to Shannon on this, who represents the law firm that's working with us on this. As I understand it, we can treat this as an investment. We don't have to develop on it. But if we don't purchase it now and it goes to a different legislative code that would allow them to put it out to bid in the commercial market, it's going to go for a lot more money than what we're going to pay for it. Because this is a municipality to a municipality agreement. Basically what we pay is the appraised fee. That's it. So even if we don't develop on it, we still have it for future growth.
And
It's
in
also-
order to get the marshal's office certified with the state, it has to have a physical address.
Exactly.
Hence, the one.
Exactly.
And the Saul's property is completely fenced with chain link fence, which just in and of itself, that's probably $15,000 to $20,000.
It's a lot of money. There are 2 wells on the property that have to be capped. Saws will pay for that. They will pay for removal of the tanks, all the stuff that's there, all that will be taken out at their expense. So it's a very good deal for the city. From a location standpoint, it's ideal. From an investment standpoint, it's perfect. For future growth, it's what we need. We could have the marshal's office there. We could, there's been 3 things that I've heard from residents from the inception of this city. Police, fire protection, animal control. Those 3 things. And those 3 things still continue to be the 3 hot topics that I hear from people. We're going to get the marshal's office going. That's going to address the police issue. We'll still have Bear County Sheriff there to support us. The fire department, they were here at the meeting that we weren't able to have, and I thought they gave a very good presentation. They have also identified that a lot of the calls come from this area. I know that they would like to possibly co-locate within our city. So here's an opportunity. We have room for them, and down the road somewhere, we probably will have to have our own fire department. There's always that possibility. Animal control, this property's already fenced off. There are, like I said, some outbuildings. They're metal buildings, but could very easily be converted into something that we could use for detaining animals so that they could be taken care of.
I don't think we can talk about the Saul's property without talking about the park. Everybody talks about, we've got 29 acres. We could do this, we could do that. The reality is that there's a whole section of that park that can't be built on or used. It's a drainage swale. It runs the length of the park. Every time it rains, you've got a river that goes through there. If you think that Waterwood Development donated 29 point some acres for the homeowners out of the goodness of their hearts, when they could have built on it, you're sadly mistaken. The great majority of that area can't be built on. Up in the maintenance yard, when they were doing the testing, we found that the water table is only about 10 feet down, up at the top of the hill in the maintenance yard. How close to the surface do you think it is down in that swale? You cannot build down there. And people talking about put the animal control in the maintenance yard. That maintenance yard, the entire fence would have to be replaced. It backs up to people's yard. I don't want unvaccinated, aggressive, sick dogs backed up to my fence.
Right.
And you're absolutely right so far as every veterinary facility that I know of, every kennel, every animal control facility has at some time had an animal get loose. I don't have kids, I don't have grandkids, but y'all tell me which one of your grandkids or children do you want to sacrifice to an aggressive dog? I don't want to sacrifice anyone's.
And the other thing about the park is it is 30-something, or just under 30 acres. there's a walking path that goes the full perimeter, and there's a baseball field and a volleyball field. I mean, I don't know where people expect to build.
The only thing there is that sand.
Right.
And like I said, you go there after a rain, you will see there's sand across the road, and it's because that whole drainage thing doesn't just run the length of the park. That drainage runs the length of Waterwood.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people know, but we do have a natural stream that runs through our community, and it starts in the park area, and it runs down Waterwood Pass all the way over to New Mathis, and it's an area that we need to probably consider in the future for conservation, but it is a natural stream. We've had Sarah come out, San Antonio River Authority has come out, and they've looked at it and said, yep, that's what you got, is a natural stream, so.
And once again, I'm probably one of the few people that have walked the majority of it.
As logical as all this sounds, people just don't trust us. They think we're up to something. They can't get in the park, it's locked up, they haven't got the TCEQ, so it's...
TCEQ has been addressed.
I know, but I'm just saying,
well, and like
I'm just
I said,
saying that
no.
even though it sounds all logical and everything, I haven't been back there, and people just don't trust us. They just don't trust us, our decision making.
I agree with the mayor that hopefully you'll be correcting some of that when you hear it.
Right.
You yourself were in the park. You showed up over an hour early for the drawing for the places on the ballot, and never once went further than 15 feet from the parking lot.
You and I drove around in the vehicle, and you gave me a
A month
tour.
or so ago, but that
But it's
day,
locked up.
You were there for over an hour. You didn't even walk over to the putt-putt that had been redone.
BJ, if I had the vehicle you had, I would be all over the park. And if I had the keys to get in, I would love it.
You were there for over an hour. You walked over the pool and
Okay,
said,
so,
Okay, we're getting off topic. I'm just saying they don't trust you, period.
no,
okay,
then
well,
maybe you should help.
I'm trying. I'm talking to him.
Going forward.
We did discuss this in March, and I think we all came to the conclusion that we were going to go forward with this purchase. So that's my thought. After we move forward, I move we approve the action to purchase property from San Antonio Waters.
we have a motion from Alderman Tremblay to approve item 7. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second from Alderwoman Gillespie. Any further discussion? Are there any questions that anyone would like to ask of Shannon about the purchase, or I invited her here just in case we need any questions, council?
I'm against it.
Well, I didn't ask for a vote, but okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, once again, we have a tie. I'm going to vote yes. The motion carries. And Shannon, you're free to stay if you'd like, but I do appreciate you coming. Thank you. Item 8, we're not going to need because we did not do executive session. Item 9. Discussion and possible action on ordinance 2016-64 related to city park hours, rules, and regulations. And I just want to reiterate, this is a draft. This is by no means what we're proposing. And I know for myself, I have a couple of concerns with this. Number one, on section 3, I don't think there should be any alcoholic beverages in the park at any time. Because it doesn't set the right example. It's not the right environment for that. But also, Officer Ramirez, can you clarify something for me? If there is an event and we have, and alcohol is there, whether it's being served or it was brought, aren't we required to have a police presence there?
Under the KBC commission, you're supposed to have
Okay.
police officer if there's any alcohol.
Okay, so that answered that question. So I'm going to recommend that we remove, or we're going to change this one that says that there will be no alcoholic beverages. And Cassandra, that would then does section 13 need to change at all related to that? Oh, okay, sorry. Where it just talks about the violation.
Well, then what the other violation is.
But by changing that to having no alcohol, that just, it falls into here for penalty, is that correct? Okay. Okay, and then the other item, under section 6, where it talks about animals in the park, I would like it specifically listed that there will be no horses or other livestock in the park unless it's permitted for a parade or a scheduled event, but as a general rule, no horses and livestock in the park. And on section 8, Cassandra, this part right here, I think this is redundant. I kind of crossed it out. Which is section 8, letter A. Yeah, where it just says use of city park or park property for commercial use without a permit. That's the end of the sentence. Everything else can be struck from there. On section 9 for motorized vehicles, can we clarify no four-wheelers or motorcycles? Well, we're saying that there's no motorized, they're unlawful to operate any motorized vehicles to be operated in the park except in designated parking spaces and city-maintained roads. Well, there's only one road, and I guess they could go into the parking lot, but to ride on the walking trail or out, well, they are.
Should include milk carts, four-wheelers, scooters,
Dirt bikes.
dirt bikes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But what I would like to include would be, like the little Barbie mobiles, or, the little,
Electrical.
yeah, the little electric cars, battery-operated cars that kids can ride on, or it doesn't even have to be a car, it can be little, but it's a little kid's battery-operated vehicle.
It is, but again, where are they safely going to do it in the park?
Well, they can do it on the walking trail.
Well, that's true, on the walking.
Yes, on the walking trail.
That's true.
I mean, that's where I would,
But they shouldn't be on the paved road.
no, they should not be on the paved road.
No.
I agree.
Can you add a section that addresses children and what they can and can't do?
What do you mean what they can and can't do?
Motorized vehicles.
As far as the cars.
Except for children and motorized.
You can't
Battery
go with the
operated.
exception of emergency vehicles, battery operated.
Well, it says the single exception shall be emergency maintenance vehicles, so it shouldn't have to address it.
Yeah, it's on here. Yeah, so you can't have animals operating a cart or a wagon or any other equipment.
Well, number 9, that after to operate any motorized vehicles to be operated, I think that needs to be taken out. Redundant.
Any motorized vehicles to be operated.
It shall be unlawful to operate any motorized vehicles to be operated in the park.
So she's just striking that. So on section 9, Ms. Tanguma, are you thinking that's where we should put the exception for the children's motorized vehicles on the walking path?
Possibly. There was no mention of children and how they needed to be monitored or anything like that in case they're under a certain age. That's something I thought might be under park rules as well, but yes.
Well, no, I mean, that's a good point.
I mean, whenever I take the baby anywhere, I have rules. I go to Burger King and you have to be small and you have to do certain things, and it's just a safety issue with children. And I just thought that safety and addressing the children, because you do have teenagers going in there, okay. And if they're, older, well, then you don't want them to be mischievous, of course, but the small ones should be accompanied by, if you're under a certain age, like 10, you should be accompanied by a child 16 or something like that. Just some kind of rules for children, because if a child goes in and they're young, and then they get, like you said, in an area and they're reliable, well, then it's just,
She's saying.
I'm just saying I have a child and I have rules everywhere.
She's saying a child under 12 should be accompanied by an adult.
Well, I would like to investigate it a little more so we can add it, because wherever I go with the child, or wherever I go, there is rules for the children. And I just say we need an addition for the children in there.
Comfortable with words to the effect that children under the age of 10 must be accompanied by a parent or guardian.
Somebody that's responsible, yes.
Well, I was wondering.
It might be an older sibling too, so I mean, that's something I think we should check out and add later. I mean, we could make an amendment on that. I just think that we need to put it in there.
Every part ordinance I've ever seen is almost a constant revision.
Okay.
Who would have thought the idea of drone 5 years?
Well, in kites, I don't even know if kites is acceptable, but the children do have a play area and they do get hurt. You get broken legs and you get broken arms, and I mean, I have a child now. So there's a lot of things to consider with children. So I just wanted to make sure we add something to address the children. It's a children's park.
I think it should be a parent or guardian. I don't think it should be an older sibling. I think, so if you've got a 10-year-old, or a 12-year-old sibling, that's not acceptable
Well,
to me.
whatever the law requires
You know,
for
I don't,
supervision.
I think that's an awful lot of responsibility to place on a 12 or 13 or even 14-year-old. And they don't make the best decisions.
Right. I just want to check into it more and add it. That's just, because children want to use the park and they'll be there. No drugs, right? There's a park.
Drugs are illegal.
I know, but sometimes you have to spell it out. I'm in college, we spell everything out, even though it seems, obvious.
It's so redundant in so many places. But some of it just spend an inordinate amount of time trying to find a loophole.
Sorry.
Well, I do think it should be an adult or legal guardian.
Well,
not an older sibling.
but, and I'm sorry I missed some of the conversation, but what if you're a babysitter, a teenage babysitter?
Well, then we need to put an age limit on it. And again, what I was just saying, that you've got an 8 or a 10-year-old and their 12-year-old older sibling is going to be making the decisions about what that child does or doesn't do in the park. You're putting a great deal of responsibility on a 12-year-old, or somebody would be putting a great deal of responsibility on a 12-year-old.
We want to release
It
ourselves.
needs to be someone, let's say 16 or older.
So what did y'all come up with?
I think
16?
again, I think we need to set an age limit as far as at what age a child needs to be accompanied by a guardian, parent or guardian. I think that's what we can't say an adult. Because if they've got a 16-year-old brother or sister, they may be babysitting, and they can, anyone want to take them to the park.
I'm good with 16.
Well,
So, I mean, we just,
12, 13, 14, I'm not good with.
I
So then you need to
I wonder
set
what
that age.
the law says about that.
Yeah.
Officer Ramirez, do you have any insight on that?
As far as what
Age for supervision of children or being unaccompanied?
The law says between the age of 12, if they have a mindset where they're able to understand. But, I mean, but most pool areas I've seen, their limit is usually 16 years of age.
Okay, so 16. Okay, thank you. So no one under the age of 16. That's not going to go well with the teenagers. Because they like to go down and play basketball or...
I think 10.
Well, how about, no.
16 active years of age to
Oh, supervise
supervise.
another child. Okay, that's better. Does that work for you, Ms. Tinderman?
Yes.
And did y'all come up with a?
To supervise a child under 8, 6.
I'm thinking 10.
Okay.
That's kind of what
And if
I'm.
you have a bunch of, and one happens to walk in and they're 13, is over supervising him, you know? Like you said, it could just keep going and
Right.
going, so we should try this until she amended it.
Some responsibility lays on them, unless you can.
It does, but it's a city park, and they should have some freedom to go to the park. So no one under the age of 10 unsupervised. Okay.
And I think, considering the world we live in, so far as anyone under 10 being down there by themselves, there are a lot of bad people out there.
Yeah, there are.
And then you could, once it's operated, have a different age group. Unless you want to have that.
No, not yet.
But I still think we need to put something in there, because on number 9, the motorized vehicles, we still need to have something in there about the ATVs and off-road vehicles.
Well, the one exception is emergency fire. I mean, that's one exception.
Yeah, but
No exception to everything. The single exception shall be.
it says, it shall be unlawful to operate any motorized vehicles in the park except in designated parking spaces and city-maintained roads within the park. So they can bring their ATVs and their dirt bikes and run up and down the,
Parking lot.
yeah.
But they can't get them to the park because they're not street
They're
legal.
not supposed to.
Motorized to include recreational apparatus.
But it still says except in designated parking spaces and city-maintained roads within the park. I still
Just
think.
take that out. I thought you wanted to take that out.
No, just in, to be operated, was taken out. I think we need a separate, I think we need to specify no ATVs, off-road vehicles in the park, period.
Let's call it recreational vehicles, such as, and then we can list them, ATVs, go-karts,
Yep.
e-bikes.
Right.
Dirt bikes, let's just make the list.
Yep.
And hopefully we catch them all.
Right.
ATVs, go-karts, mini bikes.
Four-wheelers.
Well, there was a dirt bike and
What about go-karts?
ATV
Go-karts.
just the other night.
Golf carts, I mean.
Golf carts.
No golf carts? Well, that's kind of,
I don't have a problem with the golf carts, because golf carts don't go that fast.
Yes.
Electric golf carts don't go that fast.
but they have to get them to the park.
But they do it. And if they go off-road with those, they're not going to go off-road very far.
And the sand, sand trap, yeah.
But I mean, I know there's one family that the dad takes his younger kids down in a golf cart. But again, they're operating that golf cart illegally on the city streets. So maybe you're right. You know. Get in the car, drive the kids down there and go to the playground.
Well, I'd like to make a recommendation on this particular ordinance. There's a lot of changes. I say we postpone this one until the next meeting, give Cassandra an opportunity to kind of filter through everything that we brought up and bring it back at the next meeting. Does that work? Okay. Do I need to make a motion on that?
Well, can we wait a minute?
Oh, okay, I forgot more to talk about.
On section 6, item G, operate a cart, wagon, or any other equipment or other animal in the city park unless it's just an permitted special event. I think what that probably originally was to be pulled by an animal.
No, that's what it says. If you start on section 6,
Section 1.
turn back to the first, it says section 6, animals in the park. It shall be unlawful for any person owning, having control or custody of any animal, excluding animals certified to and assisting persons with disabilities. 2, operate a cart. For any
Okay.
person. Oh, for any person to operate a cart.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that is supposed to say an animal
Yeah.
pulling a cart or
Yeah.
something.
Because evidently someone had some concern that children wouldn't be able to use a wagon
Exactly.
in the park. So this new.
No, I think that's exactly what that was for.
And then it would escalate to there would be no strollers allowed. So I think this needs to be fixed.
I'll give you my notes. Take them. No, that's a good catch. Okay. Next meeting.
So I'll move to table this item. The November meeting.
And we have a motion by Alderman Tremblay to table this till the next meeting in November, and a second from Alderwoman Tanguma. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I hope you can make sense out of my scribbles to take this. Okay. Item 10. Discussion of possible action on ordinance number 2016-66, creating the position of animal control officer. This is falling in line with the marshal's responsibilities. We have not designated this title, this position yet, even though we have designated the Marshal and Public Works Department employees to operate in that capacity. So the purpose of this ordinance here is just designating that title, that position. Nothing sinister about this at all.
So moved.
Okay. Alderman Tremblay has motioned for approval of item 10. We have a second.
Second.
Ms. Gillespie has second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Oops. Okay, on to item 11. Actually, okay, item 11, discussion and possible action on resolution number 2016-37, adopting the city's investment policy. This is another one of those things we have to do. It's required as part of the Texas Government Code, and it is to protect any funds that the city has in excess, so that we're not losing them. I know that when we met with the bank, I think it was Charlotte and I met with the gentleman at the bank, he told us that in the future we would really need to be considering that, because the FDIC limits on the funds that they can guarantee 250. And so, I mean, we're not there, but we got very close with this particular one. So it's definitely something that we need to entertain.
It's also
For the audit, yes. And the only thing I see on here is we don't have a resolution number.
What does it mean?
It just identifies that we will have a city investment officer.
which every 2 years you have to go for 8 hours of training. In the last 20 years, it's not changed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And all I have is the draft copy. I have the draft copy too. So this is Exhibit A. And I guess I don't have the actual resolution.
What is the person trying to do?
Given the parameters of what you can and cannot
Sister.
prepare them, and then you give it the manner of that on a quarterly basis, once you have a balance, that you will give an investment until 2
And Doug, if you look at, it's towards the back of the, okay, it's item 8 on page 4. It kind of talks about the responsibility of the investment officer. And Ken, I'm assuming this is a contract person. It's not somebody we're going to have, or, oh, somebody on the council? Okay. An elected council member, or it can be an appointment official?
That is an action the council will take.
Right.
They have an option either to select one official or reserve that right for themselves.
Okay. And then it talks about in section 9 and 10, or actually it was section 9, talking about working, you can designate specific brokers that you want to work with. And I'm assuming that comes from a rating or some kind of qualifications that those brokers have in dealing with municipal. But there were very specific items listed in here on what we can invest in.
What type of business controls the public fund investment? I get the banks and the credit
Right.
unions, the government securities, but the public
Got
fund,
an
who's
outfit
controlling?
called tax pool, which you conglomerate balances from different cities, and then they invest that in a lot. And then you get the benefit of the larger deposit, hopefully you get a higher return. In the past, the pools have been very successful. Way, you're doing good to get 1%.
So it's not just a return on your money, it's a return on everybody's that gets put in.
And we're not selecting any of those today. That's not what this is about. It's just approving the policy. And this is a standard type agreement or a policy based on the government code. Okay. There's no other questions. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay. Alderwoman Gillespie has motion to approve item 11. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Thomasini seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Charlotte, do you have a copy of that ordinance? I had the Exhibit A, but not the actual ordinance. So I can sign it?
Oh, is this what we're just talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a different date.
Okay. Well, I'll get it later.
15th of September on it.
Ah, okay. Okay, on to item 12. Discussion and possible action authorizing the city clerk to advertise for the positions of a full-time marshal, a part-time marshal, a part-time public works employee, 2 of them, a court clerk, and a city clerk. And just for clarification, we will not be posting a job ad for a judge. Not required. Okay.
It's a contract.
It is a contract position based on, you have to have a certain thing, yeah. So, we
But
did,
under John Law City, you can be the judge.
yeah, that ain't happening. So in our August public hearing, we did approve a full-time position marshal